Hey, Jack, it seems Team USA has run a real streak of dominance at the Paralympics. You guys have four in a row. You're going for five. That's a pretty amazing accomplishment when you really think about what's at hand here and how many years you've dominated. I mean, basically four quads, you're going for five.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a great run. It's been a testament to the guys on this team, the chemistry, the locker room that's been built by all the guys that have come before us, and the locker room that we've continued to build upon, and just I really how committed our program is to not just it's not just winning. It's about pushing the sport. It's about continuing to see how we can make the sport better, faster, more entertaining. So I think the success just comes with that.
So, it's pretty interesting. I was looking back through the history. I couldn't believe that the sport actually goes all the way back to the 60s. And just two Swedish guys who were in wheelchairs, they just decide, hey, we're going to go ahead and start this sport. And it took off. And now, seriously, sled hockey has become one of the premier sports of the Winter Games.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's the best Paralympic sport in the world. But there's really only
No, no, no bias
yeah,
there,
no
right?
bias, of course. There's only two Paralympic sports that really allow physical contact, right? And that's wheelchair rugby and sled hockey, or para ice hockey, as it's been officially dubbed. But yeah, I think it's such a great interpretation of the able bodied game. And it's intense, it's fast, it's obviously come a long way since it first got started. I mean, if just looking back from my first career game. I go back and watch old film all the time. Back in 2016, when I first made the team, the sport looks completely different, right? Everyone's skating style, stick handling, ability to start, stop, change direction. The sport's just developing so quick now. It's that much harder to keep up with, but it's that much more fun to play.
So we're going to address some of that hitting and all that great stuff that you're talking about, but let's back up just a hair. So Beijing 2022, the podium was U.S., Canada, and China. And then at the Para Championships not long ago, Canada reclaims a little bit of a title. They get a good win there by capitalizing and getting a 2-1 win. So it seems to me like in some way, shape, and form, the rivalry between you and Canada has been set. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, USA Hockey and Hockey Canada, it's probably the greatest rivalry in sports between all the way from men's stand-up, women's stand-up to men's sled and women's sled. It's, hockey's a North American sport mainly, and it's always sort of been a two-horse race in that category. USA has made leaps and bounds in recent years. And yeah, for the majority of my career, we weren't really losing that much. But then in 2024, Hockey Canada, took a world championship from us. So we got it back in Buffalo, and now we're looking to not make any similar mistakes going into Milan.
Are things so tight between you guys in Canada that you can't even have a beer after the game? Is the rivalry a hatred or just, hey, if we win, we win?
No, I mean, it really depends on the guy on the team because they got some really good guys on the team that, we've talked outside of sport. Our two captains, they did the first ever tri sled hockey event in Mexico City,
Nice.
either, earlier this year or the year prior. I think it was this summer actually. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of, or not, really a lot of mutual respect there, but there's always a couple guys here and there that really just, you don't they do some stuff on the ice that you lose some respect for them. So, that's just part of the game.
Yeah, just a little unsavory, but hey, let's talk a little bit about the US roster. So you've got some really good return players besides yourself. You got forward Declan Farmer, 3 gold, Kevin McKay, 3 gold, Team USA leader Josh Paul's 4 gold. I mean, he's been through the whole cycle, and a great goaltender, Steve Cash, and yourself with 2 gold. That's a substantial team you guys are putting out on the ice. I mean, you're fielding some good quality, so you must feel good going into the games. Tell me about some of the guys on the team and what you expect from them and what you guys expect from each other.
Yeah, well, Steve Cash isn't on the team anymore. He's been retired a few years, but our goaltender, Jen Lee, he's been on the team. He has multiple gold medals. I believe he has 3 gold medals too. So he's been
And
around a really
what's
long.
his name?
Jen Lee, yeah, he's been a rock for us back in the net. And yeah, I this is probably the most experienced roster I've ever been a part of going into a games. I 18. There were a lot of guys who had either just made the team or had only been on the team a couple years. And this time around, the majority of the team has been to one or more Paralympics, right? So, like you mentioned before, like Josh Pauls, he's a consummate professional leader. He leads by example, but I mean he's always willing to tell guys when they're doing something wrong. Which luckily, and for him, I'm guessing it isn't that often. But he leads by example. He also he gives us speeches before every game. He kind of leads the team in the direction and the attitude we want to take. And he's just an absolute stone cold killer when it comes to, playing hockey. I mean, he is Captain Clutch. He's always there. He's always, performing at the level he needs to. He's been so consistent over his career. It's really amazing to watch because he's been on the team since 2009. So it's really amazing to see how he's kept up his performance throughout the years. And another guy you mentioned, Declan Farmer, he's been the guy that has really been pushing what is possible in sled hockey, right? Before him, people would rarely even, people couldn't even toe drag the puck. People couldn't, do like a lot of the skill that you see in youth hockey now, right? It's kind of this similar in the stand-up game where now you have 10-year-olds doing the Michigan all the time, right? Now you have young players doing these skill moves that you would never even thought possible 10, 15 years ago. And he's been on the team since 2014. So he's another, I mean, so much experience, but obviously his bread and butter is goal scoring. He's the most prolific goal scorer in the history of the game. He's the greatest player to ever play. So I'm really lucky that he's on our team and I get to play alongside him.
I know I'm stating the obvious here because with every team there has to be chemistry, but is there a unique chemistry in this team? Is the chemistry built around respect? Is it built around just solid players? How did you guys come together and what's the glue that holds Team USA together?
I really for us, it's honestly friendship. I mean, we're all those guys in the locker room are like just really, really good friends of mine, right? Because I've gotten to play with them for more than a decade of my life. I've grown up with them. I met a lot of them when I was 10, 12 years old, and I've known them now. I'm 27 years old, right? So I've grown up my entire adult life knowing and hanging out with these guys, and we're all really tight. So it's a great room to be in. I mean, if you ask anyone on our staff, 90% of what they hear out of the locker room is just laughter, right? Anytime we're together, we're having a great time. We're cracking jokes, playing cards, whatever, hanging out in hotel rooms, watching movies, whatever. We're always together having a great time. So it's hard to beat that.
Hey, Jack, I want to talk a little bit about the game. So you guys have 6 people out on the ice at one time, correct?
Yeah. 5 skaters, 1 goalie.
Okay. Including the goaltender. 3 15-minute periods. There's several rules in place, but one I noticed right off the top was that in order to protect players, there's no teeing or like T-boning another player, and checking is primarily done from the side with the shoulders. So, uh, 3 15-minute periods, and I'm watching how you guys are propelling yourselves off the ice picks on the sticks and all that, and are you just gassed after 45 minutes of pushing that sled up and down?
I mean, yeah, it's very tiring, but it's just like stand-up hockey where you shift change. So you're not out there for the full 15 minutes each period, right? You're out there for about 45 seconds to maybe a minute and a half if you're hemmed in your own zone or something like that. So you're the goal is to change every 45 seconds so everyone's always fresh on the ice, right? So not only your body's fresh, but your mind's fresh because you can only really focus at 100% for so long. But yeah, I mean, it's a physically grueling sport. You're doing something with your upper body that it was never really designed to do. So you have to train
Exactly.
it a very specific way and become very proficient in, doing something your body isn't really supposed to do. So you have to be really creative with your training, really persistent and smart with your training as well.
Yeah, I was going to say the game definitely takes on an improvisational manner. If there's a turnover, you shift, your entire direction and start moving the other way. But the game is in a way very reactionary because you have to keep reacting to what the other team has done or failed to do. But that being said, I'm kind of curious, does Team USA have you guys developed a skew of plays, a number of specific offensively minded plays that you have found have worked for the team? Are there 3 or 4 given plays and designs moving the puck down the ice?
Uh, Not really. I mean, it's hockey, right? So you a team will decide certain principles that it wants to stick to, right? How you want to defend, what style you want to defend, how many guys are going to be in on the forecheck, how much leeway you give your defenders to pinch in and stuff like that. There's no really set plays that we talk about. There's more just kind of like themes and maybe I'm struggling to find the right word, but just you know, just certain scenarios that you want to put yourself in, right? Like there's a concept of scissoring in sled hockey, right? Where two guys are going the opposite direction, and then the guy with the puck can either leave the puck for someone or keep going it with him in order to put a lot of pressure on the one defender, right? Because he has to gauge, he has to try and figure out where that puck's going to be when the two people are crossing. So that's rather difficult, and that puts a lot of pressure on the defenders, and it creates the possibility for a mistake to happen. And recently, we've been deploying that in our power play, and the goal is to get as many scissor or crossing plays at the top of the rink, in the middle of the rink, to create deception and to create opportunities to attack through the middle of the ice.
Something I had never thought about until I read about it was the concept of not being able to go backwards. When we watch able-bodied hockey and there's a puck change or a turnover, instantly the guy starts, he's going backwards as quickly as possible till he can shift himself around. You guys can only go in one direction.
Basically, your defensive structure is very important. Because of that
Uh-huh.
fact, you can't just, if a guy messes up, he can't just hit the brakes and start skating backwards, like you said. So
Correct.
you need to constantly be angling people. You need to constantly be your head on a swivel to know where the other defenders are, or where the other attackers or defenders are, depending on if you have the puck or not. So you really need to be very aware of where everyone is on the ice and what direction they're going, right? Because uh, that's how you can defend really well, and that's how you can exploit their mistakes. So yeah, so definitely, there's a lot of big turns that happen where, if you are carrying a lot of speed, you want to maintain that speed because you can't accelerate with your arms as fast as you can with, let's say, your legs. So it takes a lot more force to get up to speed. So if you do have a lot of momentum, you want to conserve it. So you have to, do a proper turn or something like that. So your edge work's really important. But yeah, the big thing when defending is making sure you're always recognizing where people are on the ice and taking the proper angle and gapping up. That's closing the gap between you and the person with the puck. So you're always in a good spot to defend from.
Over the course of your playing career, have you noticed that there's any particular aspect of your game that the team counts on, your personal strengths? What is it that Jack Wallace brings to the team?
Um, my speed, I'm one of the quicker players on the team for sure. I have a pretty good physical presence when I'm on the ice. I'm one of the bigger guys on the team, but I'm also moving the quickest, so I can cover a lot of ground. I think I'm pretty proficient at getting the puck out of our own zone if it is in there, to where, if they're chipping the puck back in over and over and over again and our breakout isn't really working that well, then I'll just take it upon myself to get the puck on my stick and try and skate it up ice and get it in so we can get a line change.
Uh, we're gonna go back to penalties and t-boning and things like that. And I know hockey is hockey, whether you're sitting in a sled or you're standing up, you're still gonna get chippy out there.
Of course.
So I'm curious, how often does it happen when the gloves go down and the fists come out?
But, I mean, outside of the Paralympics, it happens pretty regularly. I mean, our last tournament, we got in a little scrum. I got hit into their goalie, so they took offense to that, and I ate a few, but somehow I still got a penalty called on me. So, you try and rely on the refs as much as you can to police the game and make the right calls, but sometimes that doesn't happen, so you just gotta roll with it.
So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the sled really quick. It's pretty interesting. I was watching you describe it online, and there's not that many components to it, but obviously it has to be made right in order for you to, fit with the sled and be one with the sled. So it's composed of basically a custom fitted bucket with blades on the bottom. And I saw you talking about some people have two blades, some people have one blade. What are the, intricate parts of that, and why do some people choose a certain configuration over another?
So everyone uses 2 blades. You have to use 2 blades.
Okay,
It would be I mean, I don't know why anyone would use 1 blade, but I know you're also not allowed to in international play. You can choose the width of the 2 blades, how close or far apart you want them to be. You know,
okay,
if you are maybe if you're a newer player, or let's say your disability limits your hip and core control, you might want your blades to be a little bit wider to provide more stability, right? Or let's say if you're someone with full mobility of their legs and maybe you're an amputee like me, you can get your blades really, really close together, right? So you can turn a little sharper, so you're a little bit more agile on the ice. And yeah, the components, you don't have to have a custom bucket. I do. Everyone on the US national team does. There's plenty of international players that don't have custom buckets. You can just kind of put foam inside the standard bucket to, make it fit to you as much as you want. The big reason why the custom bucket thing started in the US is we had a lot of US veterans, on the team, and, so injured veterans who,
uh-huh,
from the Middle East, where they were dealing with, IEDs and grenades and explosions and stuff like that, so they were losing both of their limbs, which makes it very
gotcha.
difficult to get a solid fit in the bucket. So basically the custom bucket for double amputees, it would be fully enclosed, so they have much better control of the sled. And then there's a couple different versions. The 2 main ones, that you see on our team are the North Carolina frame and the ballistic frame. Which is
Explain.
so the North Carolina frame just uses basically 3 separate components. There's the blade holder, the frame, and the bucket. And then on a ballistic sled, there's only 1 or really 2 parts. There's the bucket, and then there's the entire frame, to where the frame is kind of, made out of 1 piece of, large aluminum piping, and it's cut and angled, to your specific measurements. The North Carolina frame is a little more adjustable, but it's also, a little more lightweight, but it's slightly less durable. So I use the North Carolina frame, and they'll break on me every once in a while, but I still prefer it over the ballistic, and some guys are the other way, where they've been using 1 ballistic frame their whole career, and they swear by it, so it's just personal preference at that point.
Hey, with the custom bucket, I notice, with rugby, basketball, tennis, and all the sports where there's maneuverability issues that they've got a ratcheting system. Do you guys have the same sort of strapping or ratcheting system to hold yourselves in place?
Yep. You have a cover that goes on top of your bucket that kinda pushes down against your legs and lap. And yeah, it just ratchet straps down to keep you nice and secure, and you can kind of quickly undo them when you're not on the ice to relieve some pressure and get a little more blood flow circulation. Because when you're on the ice, you have it pretty tight. So yeah, it's a tried and true system.
Okay, so let's see if I can get this right. On the front of the sled, you've got something called the skag. It's a blade of sorts that keeps you from digging in. Does every sled have one of those?
Yeah, a skag is required. So what it is, it's basically almost like a U of synthetic ice or high density plastic, and all it
Uh-huh.
is to keep when you're skating, you can rock a bit. So it's just to keep your nose from digging too far down when you're leaning forward or anything like that, to make sure your blades are still making contact with the ice. Because if your blades come up, you're going to start digging into the ice and slowing down really fast. So that's kind of what the skag's for. It's also for safety. You don't want just a solid piece of metal that can, kind of go anywhere and run into people. So it kind of keeps everyone's sleds on plane a little bit better.
So you got a left and right stick. They're sort of like mini short sticks. You got the picks at the end, and each stick, there is a right and a left. So are most players ambidextrous in how they go about shooting, or do most players have a favored side?
Pretty much everyone has a favored side. Everyone is a natural righty or a natural lefty, and you can tell pretty quick. But the goal of, or at least a lot of our goals on the team, and I'm sure across the world, is to be as ambidextrous as possible, right? Because you never know what situation you're going to find yourself in on the ice, and it's just such an advantage to be able to use both hands proficiently. So the ability to use both hands is such a massive skill in sled hockey. It almost overlaps any other aspect. Your shooting, your skating, your maneuverability, really. And if you can go right and left as much as you can really deceive and fool and trick anyone on the ice and pretty much become unstoppable.
Hey, Jack, thanks so much. Team USA going for their fifth consecutive gold. Seems like you've really got this thing well, not really well in hand, but you're going to have a battle with Canada and many other teams. But fantastic information, and really look forward to hearing about the games and Cortina. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.